Okay, good evening, everyone. As we welcome in Ruvain Patel, Kennedy Chazan, Yitzi Muller, Aaron Swade, Mel Zachter, Irving Fishbaum, Mordechai Sultan, Marshall Castle, Shalom Fogel, Michal, Chaim Lerner, Shimon Klein, good to see you, Shimon Saba, Baruch Ian, Nachman Chaplin, Dr. Guy, A. Barbach, Moshe Lehman, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Ilya Shutman. Here in the shul we have Berish Gesseman, we have Reb Kramer, we have Reb Baruch Gold, we have Reb Goldstein. And our shir is dedicated for the tefillah that all those that are trying to get their children into yeshiva for the next man should get them in with ease, without any heartache, but with pleasantness. We start the very top of Chav Zayin Amud Aleph with the new Mishnah. So here's an interesting case. Hamevi get. Somebody brings a get. Now, who would do this? Marshall. Marshall is a trusted agent. He's bringing a get. And he loses it. Okay, he loses it. But Matzul Alter, he finds it immediately. Says the Mishnah, he finds it immediately kosher. We don't have to worry that he picked up another get with the same name and the same husband's name. But bimlav, if it's not immediately, then it's puzzle, then it's no good. Motzu b'chafisa. However, if the get wasn't a get alone, he was carrying it for protection in a skin. That's a wine barrel. They used to put wine in skins. So he was carrying it in the skins of a wine bottle. Oh, but luskama. Now, the luskama was, it's funny. When I was a child, my mother, in order to attract me to eat the food, I'm talking about when I was maybe 3, so she used to have something called the chachka machka box. That's what she called it, the chachka machka box. So the luskama, the Gemara will say, is a box that senior people have. They keep all their stuff in there, that they, the stuff that they need for immediate use. They keep their glasses there, their checkbook. So if Marshall was carrying it in a deluskama or in a skin, and he finds the skin or the deluskama, so then he could assume it was a get. We're not going to say that it was a different get in a different deluskama. That, that's too much of a coincidence. Furthermore, imakirai, if he recognizes it, now we'll see that this means if he's a Talmid Chacham, if a miracle happens, right? If he's a Talmid Chacham. Now, Talmid Chacham, no, not Chas v'Shalom. Yitz Hashem, Kein Yirba, poo. You're already a Talmid Chacham. We're all Talmidei Chachamim. We're all learning to be a Chacham, right? So we should all be Zaycha to become a bigger Talmid Chacham. Right? That's what we want. We all want to be. If you stop wanting to learn, then you're in trouble. And we welcome in Avram Schenkman joining us, Ben Zion Cohn joining us, and Rabbi Krenz joining us as we're getting richer here by the minute over here on this wonderful Monday evening. So a Talmid Chacham could identify something b'tfiyas ayin, even if there's no siman. But you see, since a Talmid Chacham is trained to be perceptive, because we're always learning subtle differences, and therefore a Talmid Chacham could say, I recognize it. And therefore, in Makirai, if he recognizes it, then it's kosher. So now the Gemara asks, as we welcome in, we're getting richer here, richer and richer. Right, that's Mo Kushner joining us, Menachem Umansky joining us on this wonderful Monday evening. Verminu, what's a Gittin Daf? If, let's say, Baruch finds get of women, emancipation of a slave, daitike, a last will and testament, matanas, a gift document, v'shovim, a receipt, harizelo yachzer. He shouldn't return it to the name of the person. He shouldn't return it to the woman. He shouldn't return it to the one who the gift was given to. He shouldn't give it to the eved. Why? Because we don't know if the giver ever delivered it. Maybe the husband dropped it and never gave it to the wife. Maybe the one who was giving the gift decided not to give the gift. Shani Aimer, ksuvin hayu. It was written, but the nimlach alein shaloi lidnan. But he changed his mind and he decided not to give it. Mashma. Ha'amar tnu. If the husband says, give it to her, then noisnan, then we could give it, va'afilu zman meruba, even after a long time. But we said after a long time we have to worry that maybe it was a different get, even though it has the same name and the same husband's name, but we have to worry that maybe it was somebody else with the same name. Amarabba like kasha. Where does Marshall have to worry when he drops it and he doesn't find it till later? That's where there are caravans. So people are traveling from all over, and it could very well be another get with the same name. If there are no caravans, so then we don't have to worry, and we could give it even after a long while. And va'afilu b'makom she'ashyoris mitzuyos, even as we welcome in Michael Druk from Delaware, va'afilu b'makom she'ashyoris mitzuyos, even in a place where there are a lot of caravans. But remember, this get also has a name of a city, Shnipashak. Now let's say her name is Rachel Sprinza, and the husband's name is Chatzkel Shmuel Yehuda Chizkiyo. So then, there has to be, two Rachel Sprinzes in Shnipashak. There has to be, two of those four names in Shnipashak. The Eloi Teimahachi, because if we don't say that, as we welcome in Richard Rosenzweig. Richard Rosenzweig zooming in on our 27th Zoomer of the evening. And Richard, we are on Daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. Wonderful to have you. As we are holding by the Eloi Teimahachi, which is 10 lines from the top of Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. And Sandy Grunfeld has just joined us. It's delightful to have Sandy. Good evening, Sandy. The Eloi Teimahachi, Kasha de Rabba. Because if not, we will have a difficult contradiction between one dictum of Rabbah and another. There was a get found in the Bezdin of Rav Huna, and it says that the get was written in Shvire, a city which is on the bank of Rochis. Rochis was a name of a river, and an agent comes into the court and says that he lost his get, so he wants to have it back. It was Marshall. Marshall lost the get, and he wants to have it back to deliver it to the wife. Amar Rav Huna, and Rav Huna says can't do it because it says that is. It says Shvire, which is on the bank of Rochis Nara. We have to be concerned that there's two Shvires. That means that even though in Shvire, which is the Shvire that we know, on the bank of Rochis Nara, only had one Chatzkel and Rachel, but we have to be concerned that maybe there's another Shvire on the bank of Rochis Nara. So Rav Chisda said to Rabbah, when he heard this psak, he said, Puk va'ayin ba, go and look into this question, go and look into it, because in the evening, Rav Huna is going to ask you about it. So Nafik Dok ve'eshkach, he went out and he did a search, the Tanan, Kol Maisei Bezdin, any note that's certified in Bezdin, Harizeh Yachzer, you could return it, and we don't have to worry that somebody else with the same name lost it. And therefore, Rabbah said the same thing over here. We don't have to worry that there's another shvirei on that's far-fetched to say that there's another city by the name of Shvirei on Rochis Nara. Says the Gemara, but wait a second. V'beidina de Rav Huna de Kemakom Shiashiaris Mitzuyistami. The Bezdin of Rav Huna is a place where there's a lot of caravans, and yet v'kaposhit yazer, and therefore yet he paskin that you could return it. Why? Alma ihurzakushnei yismen shim berachas. If there are two Rachels and Chatzkels in the city, then you have to worry. And since there's no presumption that there's two Shmireis on Rochis Nara, you don't have to worry about that, even though there are caravans going from one place to another. Ovid Rabba Uvda, Rabba actually paskin the case, Bahu Gita de Ishtakach Bei Kisna B'Pumpadisa. There was a get that was found in a place where they soaked flax in Pumpadisa, and he did it kishmaitze, according to his conclusion. Now, the Gemara says, what does it mean according to his conclusion? So the Gemara says there's two possibilities about the variables of the case. Some say that the get was found in a place where they soaked flax. Even though there were in the town different couples with the name Rachel and Chatzkel, but it's a place, there's a place, that's a place where they soak flax, that there's not a lot of wagons passing through there, and therefore it's far-fetched to say that somebody else lost to get there as well with the same names. It was a place where they sold flax. Now there's a lot of people, there are caravans coming. And therefore, the reason why they weren't worried, and they said you could give the get, they weren't worried a different get, is because the names were unusual. Rachel Spinza Chaya and Meishi Shmuel Shmerel Yecheskel. So therefore, since the names were unusual, even though it was Shchich and Shayos, even though there were many caravans, they still allowed the get to be returned to the Shliach.
So it's a machlokas Rabbah and Rav Huna, basically. Rav Huna doesn't agree with Rabbah.
Well, but you see that Rav Huna said to go out and look into it. So perhaps Rav Huna changed his mind. Now, I hate to bother a tired man, but is there any possibility I could trouble you for some more water? Yeah, here. So you could take this out. You could spill this out. It's old water, and just fill it up with new water because I drank already everything that you gave me. Thank you very much. Sorry to bother you. I just want to say, I don't want Baruch to miss the Gemara. I just want to say that Berish was mysteriously absent last night. You had something last night? Yeah, so, but I noticed that he was feverishly learning the daf. Did you get to finish it?
Not quite.
Almost. Good for you. You know, there's many ways to catch up. That's the beauty of this daf, is that if you miss it, there's so many ways to make it up. Now there's the YouTube option is an attractive option for those that want to do it, you know, right after the shir. Like you let's say you get home an hour afterwards. On YouTube, it's uploaded almost immediately. Irving, I'm right about that, right?
I couldn't find 26 on YouTube. It wasn't uploaded on...
Absolutely.
It certainly was.
It's amazing how fast it goes on.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how it's uploaded. Unbelievable.
I didn't find it.
Do you know how to?
Necessary, so easy to
I
find
got
it
the
though.
Rav.
I was looking for one of the shiurim had one, but it didn't have the other ones. I had to do a search.
Well, it's interesting. I created a playbill. So there's a playbill on my channel called Daf Yomi. So if you,
Look for that.
yeah, if you look for playbill, there's 3 playbills. I have to make more playbills. Irving,
So it's like a folder within that.
You put in Rabbi Moshe Meir Weiss, it comes up, and then you'll see Daf Yomi.
yeah, right.
Within that Daf Yomi
Right.
will have.
That's good.
Are they in order?
I think so, yeah.
Because okay, I didn't think it was. That's why.
I don't know, but I know I have 3 playbills. I have Mishnah Yomis Chok and Daf Yomi. I'm going to make some more playbills. I'm going to make a Parish of the Week playbill. I'm going to make a marriage playbill. I'm going to make a Baruchian playbill. Well, I don't worry. I'm creating a portfolio on you. Anyway,
What's nice about it, Rabbi, is that if you want to get up to get a drink or something, you could stop it, you don't miss a word.
Well, that's with all of them. Torah anytime is the same way.
yes, Torah anytime is the same way. Torah anytime is the same way. But I don't know. I'm an old tape man. I love the way you were able to rewind and fast forward the tape. I don't know. It's like there's nothing like tapes. Yeah. But I remember fondly with my first Rebbitzin Mim Libby, I mailed out with her 1 million tapes. 1 million tapes. 1 million tapes. Yeah. I told you, I wanted to put 1 million on her tombstone, but I didn't want to risk that maybe it's not 100% true, because everything I put was 100% true. So I wrote Meyois Alafim, hundreds of thousands. I didn't want to say. I didn't want to say. I was gonna say 1 million, but I didn't say it. Anyway, the Gemara says. Rab Zera Romi Masnisan Abraisa. So over here it's interesting. In the beginning of the sugya, I'm pointing this out now because the Gemara is going to show the 2 different opinions. The Gemara in the beginning asked a stira from one Mishnah to another Mishnah. On the other hand, Rabbi Zera asks a stira from our Mishnah to a Braisa. Rabbi Zera Rami Masnisan Abraisa, he asked the stira, the Mishnah on the Braisa, Mashani. Right? So first he brings our Mishnah. Tnan, Hamevi get, I'm not sure if you snuck in so fast while I was talking. Did I say thank you? Yeah, thank you very much. Tnan, Hamevi get v'avid heimenu. If Marshall brings the get and he lost it, we already heard this once before. Im matzu la'alter, if he finds it immediately, it's kosher. V'im la, but if not, we have to be concerned. Maybe it's a different get. Puzzle. V'minu. Now here's the brayso. Matzu get isha b'shuk. If you find the get of a woman in the marketplace, bizman shabal maida, when the husband admits yarzer liisha, ein abal maida, lo yarzer loy lezeh v'loy lezeh. If the husband is not maida, then we don't return it to either one of them. We don't return it. We don't return it to the husband. Why? Because maybe he already gave it to her, and by returning it to the husband, she won't be able to collect the ksuva, because he's going to say, look, I have the get, so I must have paid the ksuva. nor do we return it nor do we return it to the woman, because the husband doesn't admit it, and if we give it to her, she might go ahead and get married with it. Mashma, hobis mansha bal moida, but if the husband admits that he wrote the get, mias yazel the issue, we could give it to the woman, and we could give it to her even if we found it after a long time. Vafilu izman meruba. We said if it's after a long time, it might be a different get with the same names from different people. So the Gemara answers a simple question, the simple answer, the same way we answered earlier. In the case of Marshall, where we said you can't assume it if he found it later on, it's talking about where there's plenty of caravans, so it might be a different get. Where we say that if he says give it to her, we can give it to her. That's one way to learn. Ikadam, right? Another way to handle the stira is also simple, and that is the names on the get are Chatzkel and Rachel Spinzer in Schnippeshak. So Ikadam, right? And where do we say in the Mishnah that if it's after a long time, we don't return it? That's because in Schnippeshak there's more than one Chatzkel and Rachel Spinzer, Vaina the Rebbe. The Ikadamrei, others say, Afal Gav the Loyor Zakul Loylader, even if we don't know that there's two Rachel Spinzers and Chatzkel, still we don't return it. Or Pliga the Rabba, we have to be concerned of it, even if we don't know it to be the case. So now the Gemara asks, why earlier Rabbah asked the stira from one Mishnah onto the other Mishnah. Our Mishnah that says that if Marshall finds it, we don't return, it's no good if it's after a long time, while the other Mishnah said that, if you remember, we said if Baruch Ian finds Gittin Nashim, and the husband says give it, he could give it even if it's after a long time. So why does Rabbah ask from one Mishnah on another, while over here Reb Zera asks from a Mishnah and a Brisa? So the Gemara says, let's see it inside. Well, if you have two opposing Mishnayos, it's better to ask a contradiction from two Mishnayos than from a Mishnah and a Brisa, because Mishnayos are more authoritative than a Brisa. By the way, that's the reason why it's called a Brisa. Brisa is Bora. It's outside. It's not in the official body of Mishnayos. So if you could ask a contradiction from one Mishnah and another Mishnah, that's stronger than asking from a Mishnah and a Brisa. So it's stronger to ask a question from one Mishnah against another Mishnah. So he said when Baruch found it, we said it over there that if he finds it, he shouldn't give it, because maybe the husband decided to write it, but he didn't give it. Maybe the gift giver decided to write it, but he never gave the gift. We wanted to deduce, but if he says to give it, we give it, and then we add it even after a long time. It doesn't say that. That if the husband tells Baruch, give it, then he gives it even after a long while? No, it doesn't say that. That's only Kidikaiman on La'alta, where he found it right away. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, now we're going to resolve the contradiction differently. You know, with 28 Zoomers here, so many wonderful people here tonight, I want to say, it should not be taken for granted Gittin is not a walk in the park. Every case is another case. You have to hold cup. To come and learn after a long day, some people here are crazy. They got up early in the morning, it's like, and to come after a long day, it's really a wonderful thing. So bravo to everybody, really bravo to everybody. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar, you know why we could return it in those cases where we say we could return it? It's because signed on the bottom of the shtar it's a very choshev document, Edi Chazan. To pin down Edi Chazan in any one place, it's not easy, right? The Edi Chazan and Rabbi Kranz signed it, and they said that we only signed a get for this Chatzkel and Rachel. So Rabbi Yirmiyah Kagain the Kamra Eidim Me Olam Lechasamnu El Al Get Echad Shel Yosef Ben Shimon. We only signed on one, so you don't have to worry. It's another one. So the Gemara says, so then, duh. Baruch says, I don't have to come here to hear that. Duh. Maybe there's another Rabbi Kranz and Eddie. Although it's very hard to imagine another Rabbi Kranz and Eddie, but there's two Chatzkels and Rachel Sprinces, and Ve'edim Ke'edim, and there's also two people of the same Skamash Balon. That far we're not Chayshish. Rav Ashi Amar, you know why you give it back? Oh, Rav Ashi Amar. Rav Ashi says, who do we got over here? Oh, welcome, Mordechai Sultan. It's good to have you. Says the Gemara, Meir Sadin, I think. Meir Sadin. Rav Ashi Amar, you know why we give it back? I remember in the get, there was a hole next to the letter Ches in Chatzkel. The Havale Simen Muvik. That's already a distinctive siman. It's not just a siman, it's a distinctive siman. But v'davka b'tzad is plainness. It's only good if he says a hole on the side of the ches. The Havale siman muvik, that's a distinctive siman. Aval nekabal, if he says there was a hole in the get, that's not enough. Lie. Why? Even though we allow that by an Aveda, we return a lost article to somebody that gives a regular siman, that could be only D'Rabbanan. D'Rabbanan say that we allow it, that we relax it, and if it's the wrong person, we say Hefker Bezdin Hefker, which we could do by money. But maybe by a Daraisa, like a get, we won't return with just a simple siman. Misafkele simonimi Daraisa D'Rabbanan. Rabba Babachana irkis legita bei midrasha. Rabba Babachana lost the get in the Beis Medrash, and they found it, and he said, "Amar isimon isli begave." I have a good simon. Itfias eina isli begave, or as I'm a Talmid Chacham, I can say that I recognize it. So Adrun Nihali, they returned it to him. Amar, he said, Lo Yadana, I don't know imishum simona ahadrua. It's because I had a simon. Obviously, it wasn't a simon muvik. It was just a regular simon, but the kasabre simonim daraisa, and it's good for a get. Imishum tvias eina, or because I recognized it, and to say he recognized it, and then after Tzum Rabbanan, that would only be a young Talmudic scholar, a Talmudic scholar, Aval Binish Ba'al Malay, but if not somebody else.
If you hold Simonim, he had a suffix, then even if he had a Simon Movik, why it wouldn't still be a suffix?
No, I said it's not a Simon Movik.
No, I'm saying before. He had the case before. He said he wasn't sure.
No, he didn't say he wasn't sure. He said Dafka. No, Daf Davali Simon Movik, but Dafka B'tzad Oisplainus, which is a Simon Movik, but a regular hole, which is not a Simon Movik, would be a suffix.
So in other words, everybody agrees that a Simon Movik it would be the Yoraisa.
That's correct.
I would have thought that if you hold.
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, I thought you needed.
That's correct. That's correct. Simon Movik is Doraisa. Now, the Emlav puzzle. If not, if not, so what does the Mishnah say? The Mishnah says that if Marshall finds it only later, it's no good. Tan Rabbanan, what does it mean he found it only later? Tan Rabbanan, Ezel Shaloi La'alter. What's pshat? He didn't find it right away. Reb Nassan Amishashah Kedei Shetaver Shiara V'Tishma. There was enough time that a wagon could come and camp out, and another one could have been dropped. Reb Shimon Lazar Kedei Shia Adam Oimed V'Roya Shaloi Avar Sham Adam. It means that a person was standing there and seeing that nobody passed by. That's what it means immediately. V'yesh aimim shaloi shah adam sham. What does it mean immediately? That no man stayed there. So somebody else couldn't have came and dropped it. Rabbi Aimer kidei lichtov esaget. It means that he found it before the time it takes to write again. Rabbi Yitzchak Aimer kidei likroisai. Before the time it takes to read again. Enough time to write it and read it. Even if he waited, in other words, it's a while, the yesh by simonim, but Marshall has simonim, and Rashi adds over here simonim of hakim, a distinctive simon, like a hole next to the letter ches, then me'idim alav. The imre nekev yesh by b'tzad ois plainis. Like we said, he says that there was a letter, a hole next to this letter. The me'idim al simone haguf. You cannot testify just identifying the size of the get. The imre orach by saying it was a long get, or the guts, or a short get. The next Gemara we will learn tomorrow. I hope, I can't say for sure, but I hope that tomorrow we will have a chok as well. I am working on it. Actually, it's very interesting. The chok of Kairach, day 3, is a parak of Mishnayos in Gittin. So it's going to get us ready for Gittin. We're going to learn the Mishnah Yomis now. I actually recorded the Mishnah Yomis, but one second, Irving, you might not want to leave yet, because I want to say something that I said over in shul here between Mincha and Mariv. Today was an auspicious day on the Jewish calendar, and many people are completely unaware of it. Today was the 23rd day of Sivan. So you'll say, okay, what happened on the 23rd day of Sivan? Well, you'll have to look in Megillas Esther, and you'll look in Megillas Esther, Perek Ches, Pasuk Tes. It says that on the 23rd of Sivan, Vayikaru Soifrei HaMelech Ba'esai, they summoned the scribes of Achashverosh, Ba'chodesh HaShlishi, in the 3rd month, Hu Chodesh Sivan, that's our month, B'shloisha Ve'esrim Bai, on the 23rd day, that's today, Vayikosev, and they wrote Kikol Asher Tziva Mordechai El Yehudim, like all which Mordechai commanded the Yehudim, and this is the day that they repealed the decree of genocide of Haman, La'ashmid, La'rog, La'abed as Kol Yehudim. So the day that the letters went out to 127 Medinas to repeal the decree and reverse the decree of Haman was on the 23rd day of Sivan. So the Arizal says that this day is a day that's mesugal to repeal a decree that's hanging over a person throughout the ages. So, it's still before 72 minutes, before 72 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Here in Baltimore, I'm davening in a shul, Munkach, Minag Munkach, and we didn't say Tachnun today.
Because of this?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there's the other who don't say Tachnun.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I'm not saying it so you shouldn't say Tachnun. I'm saying it, yeah.
Munkach, Minag.
Very interesting. But the Arizal says it's a good time to be mispalo. Anyway, we now learn the Mishnah Yomis.
Rabbi, it was worth staying for.
Yeah, thank you. We now learn the Mishnah Yomis, which is in the 5th parak of Yuma, and we are holding by Mishnah Vav and Zayin. So he has now the blood of the bull and the blood of the goat mixed. He already put it on the 4 corners on the Mizbeach Hazav. He's al tahoro shel Mizbeach sheva pamim. Now he clears away the coals from the middle of the Mizbeach Hazav, and he sprinkles 7 times from the mixture of the blood of the bull and the blood of the goat on the cleared off pure gold on top of the Mizbeach Hazav. And then with Shori Adam, the remainder of the blood of the goat and the bull, he pours to the western base of the outside altar. The reason why he does it on the western base is since he's coming out from the west, the first base he reaches is the western base. Now, normally, when he does the blood applications on the outside altar for the karbanos outside, v'shel mizbeach achitzon, there, after he makes the application, he's coming down the ramp, which is in the south. So therefore, the first yesod that he meets, he would pour it on the southern base. Elu ve'elu, both of these, that's the blood of during the year, and of course the blood of the par and the sar of Yom Kippurim, misarvim ba'ama. Once they are poured to the base, they flow out of the canal that runs through the Azara. The Yoitzin L'Nachal Kidron, they flow out to the valley of Kidron. V'nim Korin L'Ganonim, and the Gizber sells it to gardeners L'Zevel for fertilizer. If people take it without paying, U'moyelim Behem, it's not a Mila D'Oraisa because Kevin Shenevda B'mitzvah, since the mitzvah was done, it's mutter, but it's a Mila D'Rabbanan. Now, Kol Maaseh Yom Kippurim Ha'omer Ala Seder, everything that's said in the order that you're supposed to do the blood of the bull before the blood of the goat, you're supposed to do the Kodesh Kedoshim before the Paroiches, Im Hiktim Maaseh Chaver, if you do it out of order, Lo Yasa Klum. And therefore, Hiktim Dam Asar L'Dam Apar, if he did the blood of the goat before the blood of the bull, so then Ya'azav Yazim Dam Asar L'Achar Dam Apar. He has to apply the blood of the goat after he does the blood of the bull. Now, what happens if the kohen trips and he spills the blood? If before he finishes the applications in the Kodesh Kedoshim, nishpach adam, let's say he spills the blood of the goat. So then, Yovi damacher, he has to shecht another goat, and he does over the set. In other words, he goes back and he does from the blood of the bull another achas l'mal of a sheven lamata, and then he does from the new goat achas l'mal of a sheven lamata. If he spilled the blood of the let's say, of the bull, before he finished applying against the paroiches. So then he shechts another bull, and he starts again against the paroiches. He doesn't have to start over by the Kodesh Kedoshim. That set was already done. The Chaim b'Mizbeach Hazav, and also by the Mizbeach Hazav, because each one is a separate set. Shekulan kaparan b'fnei atzman. The set of the Kodesh Kedoshim is one set. The set against the paroiches is another set. The set against the on the Mizbeach Hazav. Now, in the case where he spilled by the Mizbeach Hazav, since the bloods were already mixed, so then he's going to have to shecht another sar and another par. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon disagree. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon says, let's say he did one above and four below from the dam of the par, and then he spilled it. He shechts another par, and he continues to do 5, 6, and 7. He starts from where he left off. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon Aimim, mimakom shepasa, from where he stopped, misham hu maskil, from there he starts. Again, we want to remind you that we have tomorrow night, Be'ezus Hashem, besides the daf, we'll have a chok as well. Anybody wants to sponsor the Chumash here, or any of the dafim or Mishnah Yomises, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Take a look at, I put an interesting look back to the past. I spoke about Lashon Hara during quarantine in COVID. That's a share I put recently on YouTube. I put recently a share on YouTube that I spoke at the kever of the Rambam, also at the kever of my Zaydan Har Menuchas. So you can see those shiurim on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.